Hello there, IGCSE ICT students. This will be a practice on the March 2023 CIS paper. This will be the specifically on question 13, databases question. Now, this very particular question, question 18 itself, is actually pretty simple and straightforward because you just need to do three key things, which is setting the data type, the field names, and the primary key, which is straightforward. You just need, every time when you start on a database, it's just importing the file that you needed. And most of the time, the question will start by asking you to import a source file from the given supporting documents Cambridge gives you. So this particular question asks you to import a file called m23 test.csv. And I'm going to go ahead into the Windows environment because, hey, database is best used in Microsoft Access. You can use different other apps at your choice, but I prefer to use Microsoft Access, and you have it. Let's join with this practice with me. So as the question have just asked us to do is to open up M23 or M23 test. That's literally for March 23. And then the document will be this. We're not going to open it in Excel, even though by default it should open Microsoft Excel. What we can do is go onto Microsoft Access if you have this open and select blank database right there and just create whatever database name that you want and prefer. I'm just going to go by the default and start with the new document right here. So to import a file in Microsoft Access, it has a very delicate process. We have to just hover over to the top and select external data. And at the ribbon of external data, they have both two sections, import and linked and export. Many of my students will automatically select text file right over here at the export section. So please don't make the mistakes my students made. Just go on over to import and link, select new data source, and this is where you can see that the from file text file will appear. Let's go ahead and select text file and browse wherever your document of the source file will be. Most of the time during the exams, your teachers or the examiner put it on a desktop. But if you download it from the internet, just go wherever you save your save file. And I put this on the desktop. And I'm just going to go ahead and import m23test.csv. Now, when you import over in Microsoft Access, there are a few certain things that you need to pay attention to after you click OK. It's because at this menu right here, they ask you to either choose delimited or fixed width. For your information, delimited is just only characters separated by comma or tab as being explained to you. And the source file that Cambridge often use is just comma and tab. So you can just go ahead and select delimited and go next. Now, most of the time my students often forget to do is to ensure they click and check the first row contains field names right over here. This will make the first row in the CSV to be the field names, or generally the header for the document right here. All right, once that's being checked, then only go to the next menu. Now, if you are a person who likes to change before you go on to the next menu, if you like to change the data type in the advanced button by following the question right here, and to ensure that the data type, text, and number follow the requirement of the paper, you can actually select the advanced menu right over here and you change the data type right there. I don't really like to do this at this stage. I would do it in the design view, but if you're a person who would like to change this, you can go ahead and change it right there. But I will show you my preferred method after this. So I'm just going to click cancel. I'm going to go next instead. Now, this is important because every single time the question in IGCSE often asks us to set the primary key. Sometimes it asks us to choose a primary key stated right over here at the sections where my mouse is hovering over. Sometimes it asks us to decide the most appropriate primary key. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the required question, which is registration underscore code, and I select this as the primary key instead. And that's been chosen. And finally, you can put in whatever name that in a question paper, it didn't really ask us to make changes to the file name. So just go ahead and select finish, and you probably will ask you to save the import step. Just ignore this and just close that straight away. And you double click the M2 tree test table, and this will be the data that you have imported. Now, the question is not yet done because I have to ensure that all of the field names and data types are properly imported. And in this question, it asks us that we should not import the English field. Now, I can just automatically go ahead and just delete this field because I don't really need this. So I'm just going to delete the field and I won't import this at all. And that's it, as following the question here. And then I had to ensure that all of these data types are correctly being labeled before I move on to the next question, which is question 19. To do that, I prefer to go into the home ribbon and then go into design view. And I can change the data type right here in the design view right there. Now, if you have selected the proper primary key, which is the registration underscore code, then you will have the key display right over here. And if you perhaps made a mistake and the primary key is not registration underscore code, don't panic. You can actually literally right click this blank square and you can change the primary key whenever you made a mistake. Let's say, for example, you have selected family underscore name as the primary key, but the correct one was registration code. So just choose that, and then you are actually following the requirements of the question. Now, after that, the data type here, they're all text, and you don't have to follow exactly text. You just need to find the most appropriate data type right there in Microsoft Access, because literally there's no text only choices. It's either short text or long text. And this is where you have to make a little bit of discretion whether or not to follow a short one or a long one. For me, I'm just going to go ahead and select short text itself and make sure everything under this view names follow the same under house underscore code. And generally, they are the same. All right, there are text and there are also numbers from maths to science here. So we don't really need to change these. However, you see that here there is a display where we need to standardize the decimal places of these numbers. And to do so in Microsoft Access, we just need to select the field names and just go over under the field properties. This may be a little small for you to look at this end of the video, so I'm just going to enhance and zoom it later. So change that to 0. All right, because 0 needs, it asks us to display the value of 0 decimal places, and we're going to ensure the rest of it also display 0 decimal places as well. Right, so I'm going to change every single thing there. Finally, the last one, 0 decimal places. Now, with that being done, I'm just going to confirm and double confirm that each of the data type right here is properly selected, and it is. And basically, we're done with all the requirements right there. We ensure that all the data types follows the requirements. And then finally, we need to place this in the evidence document, a screenshot showing that we have properly selected the correct data types, field names, and the primary key. When I screenshot, I prefer to screenshot clearly with this section with all the data types, the field names, and the primary key properly displayed. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in a Microsoft Word. I mean, usually paper 2, they will provide you a evidence document. And since I only started this task in the midway, I'm just going to go ahead and create a blank document and paste this as task 18 evidence, and then put this inside of the document. And here we go. You have just completed task 18. All right, good luck with your practice, and I'll see you in the next test.